Summer League is here. There are games today. The Pacers are practicing. We got to hear from Talon Peter. The roster is out. What is interesting? Who is the most interesting player on the team? What could it mean for the Pacers roster this season? We'll talk about it all today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday/weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, let's talk some Summer League, some of my favorite basketball of the year. No expectations, all hoops, all young guys trying to prove themselves, and the Pacers are getting going. Their first two practices have wrapped up, their first official one with media on Friday. We got to hear from Summer League head coach Isaac Jacob. We got to hear from second-round pick Talon Peter, and we got to see the squad all together and see the roster announced, who is and isn't there from the Pacers, and what it could mean heading into the season. I want to talk about more so the bigger picture guys and their roster implications a little bit today. No deep dives into anybody, no deep anything today, but there is a lot of ripple effects from Summer League into the Pacers, like planning and offseason. And of course, you want to see improvement from the young guys as the Pacers. And we'll talk about the rookies and a few other players that are noteworthy that you need to keep your eye on when the games get rolling. This episode will come out on July 5th. There are actually Summer League games on that day. The Spurs and Heat play at like 4:30 Eastern. That's his Utah Summer League getting going. Man, Pacers don't play till Vegas, so they're still a little bit off. But it is crazy how fast this offseason went for the Pacers with how late they were playing. Okay, the Summer League roster is out. I'm not going to read you the whole thing. The Pacers put it on their website. What I am going to say is, to me, among all these guys, there are rookies, there are two-way guys, there's guys fighting for spots potentially on the Pacers, which we'll get to later. But the most interesting player on this team to me, undeniably, is Johnny Furphy. Because he is the most, I guess, marquee is maybe the best way to put it, returning Pacer from last year. Quinton Jackson probably had more of an impact on the season, and he'll be heavily featured here in just a second. But Furphy, given where they drafted him, they actually traded resources to get him last year, to move up, to get him. They clearly liked him. We've heard a lot of good things about him. They like him. Like, he is the most interesting guy to me in this setting because he could kind of have a launching point for his career. Remember, let's look back in time. Remember Chris Duarte's second Summer League? I don't think many people do. He played one game. He had a toe injury going in, and he balled out. He had 16 points on 7 shots, defended pretty well, lived at the line in a way he had never showed before, didn't play again. Of course, Summer League success does not mean NBA success. In fact, he was much worse in year 2 and has never really been an impactful NBA player ever again. But that's the kind of what you hope second-year Summer League looks like for NBA players who are growing, right? What Jarris did last year, show new stuff. What Andrew Nembhard did the year before that, shows new stuff, looks like way better than everybody else, right? That's what you hope to see. And the thing about Summer League that's fascinating to me is if you're good, that doesn't mean you're going to be a good NBA player, but that means you have a chance. If you're bad, it means you probably have no chance, like at all. And so you want, if you're a team, to see your players be good, and you really want to see them be getting better from the previous year. And we've seen that from the likes of guys on this team before. And Jarris was like a little overrated, I think, in Summer League last year. He played well. He played better. Nembhard with the same. Like, I thought he was awesome 2 years ago, but obviously had like 8 or 9 turnovers in that first game. But that's what you want to see, skill growth. And so Furphy last year was very interesting, right? Played in 50 games, but most of that was like garbage time appearances. And everybody who watched him in NBA settings only could see that there was something there, right? The nose for the ball was impressive. His rebounding numbers shook out really well. His steal and block numbers were good. He barely turned it over, right? That's all great. Like everybody would say the same thing. He knows how to play, right? And that's a good thing. You know, he didn't have embarrassing stats. He was never like, what is this guy doing? What's he trying to do? But the ball in the basket part of the game was not there for him. He shot 38% from the field last season. And even in Summer League last year, I think a lot of people walked away from Summer League with the same feeling, right? He played 4 games. He was like dunking. No one saw that coming. He got 6 boards a game. He almost had 2 steals, right? A lot of stuff that's like, okay, Furphy knows what he's doing. He knows how to play. And he shot 37%. And he made less than 30% of his threes. And so that is what I'll be fascinated by with Johnny Furphy. It's very clear that he is an interesting prospect. Carlisle said, I don't remember the exact quote, but something to the effect of, like, Johnny Furphy is going to be a player for us, like rotation player for us in the future. He did not mean this coming season. He meant at some point, but like they clearly like him. They clearly like him. The physicality for someone of his size is very impressive. The nose for the ball stuff is like an innate thing for him. It just comes so naturally to him to hunt that stuff down. And in the G League last year, where I had the chance of, I like was his curse for a while. I saw him in person in the G League, I think 6 or 7 times, and I basically just sitting courtside for those. And he kind of stunk every time I'd go. And then every time I wouldn't be at the Mad Ants game, he would be like awesome, like put up huge numbers. But in the G, he got like on-ball reps and attack the basket and do all this stuff. And he finished that season at 14 points a game, but he shot 45% and was more effective from deep than he was in the NBA in his 10 games. And so he was up and down, certainly, but that setting, he looked good. He looked like the best player on the floor. And so he's got some juice. He's got more athleticism than I anticipated when he came to the NBA. But I think all of this is exciting, but it boils down to the efficiency, right? He has just got to make shots. He absolutely just has to put the ball in the basket. This is a guard-heavy Pacers Summer League roster in general, right? This Creighton kid, Steven Ashworth's going to handle it sometimes, Ray J. Dennis, RJ Felton, Quinton Jackson. We'll talk about why Taylor Peters is going to be in this category. Like they have Tominaga even. Like they have guys who are going to handle the ball. Not all of them are like high-level creators for others, but they have guys who are going to handle the ball. For if he can have some off-ball time, he should have some on-ball time too. I think a lot of summer leagues about exploring studio space with guys' skills. But I think he's just got to make shots, like 45+% from the field and at least like credibly good 3-point shooting, because that's the swing skill for him right now to me, which is interesting because that's not what I thought it would be. But he's just, if he makes shots, I think it's very clear what his path to minutes in the pros is just consistency, because that would prove that he's got a base-ish of a lot of skills, right? That's what he showed last year. So he is by far the most interesting guy to me because he could be the most meaningful pacer in the short term and maybe even the long term too. But this guy could also make a case for that. And the second most interesting guy to me, we'll talk about the rookies as well at some point. That's Quinton Jackson, right? Quinton Jackson was legitimately good in NBA games for the Pacers last year. He started 7 times, played in 28 games on a 2-way, like very impressive. Shot it well from the field, made threes, had some pop, and is like so fast with the ball, right? Such a unique skill. Last year in Summer League, those will remember the Quinton Jackson experience of just a dreadful, awful, what is going on level first game, and then was very good the rest of the games, but his first impression was very poor. Like he shot 63%, he made 46% of his threes, 11 points a game, good assist numbers, right? He played off 5, and he was, by the end, thought of differently, but he is the second most interesting guy to me because not only was he decent for the Pacers the last year, and they liked him enough to bring him back after a year before that. I talked about veteran point guards yesterday, and to be clear, since I got comments about this, people were like, you forgot about Quinton Jackson. 1, no, I talked about him earlier in the offseason already. And 2, we were talking about table-setting veteran free agents. He is not a table setter. He's a good player. He's a combo guard. Obviously, I think that it's possible Quinton Jackson could be fighting for a standard roster spot with the Pacers. With Haliburton out for the year, and they need a guard / ball handler / point guard, whatever you want to say. Why not Quinton Jackson, who is proved that he fits well with the Pacers style, at least, fast with the ball. You never know with guys of his experience level what the consistency will be. He's only played 40 NBA games in his life, but 28 of them were last year with the Pacers, and many of those went quite well. He won them games in a season where every single win mattered. He was legitimately good in wins. He had that awesome game in Houston. That was the peak of it with 24 points, but was really good and went over the Pelicans, played well against Portland while starting. Like he was good, a good player, and that carried from Summer League. And so I think he has a chance, like if he just absolutely dominates, to certainly be in the mix, to be the Pacers like 5th or 6th guard, whatever you want to say next year, on a standard contract, right? He has an outstanding qualifying offer right now that was submitted to him. So he's a restricted free agent because he's coming off of 2 years on a 2-way with the Pacers. His qualifying offer is actually a standard contract right now. It's barely guaranteed, like less than $100,000. So there's no real reason for him to sign it. They would just cut him immediately if they weren't ready for him to do that. But he is battling for something, I think. There's a reason they brought him back. And so I wonder what he actually, before talking about his specific skills, I wonder what he's playing for contractually. We'll talk about the two-way battle in a second. But, last year they had that two-way mix with the battle of Quinton Jackson, Enrique Freeman, Tristan Newton, and Oscar Tshiebwe, and then ended up going to, obviously, the first three names with Tshiebwe heading to Utah. I wonder if there's going to be a battle this year as well, if Jackson could be in the two-way mix again. He is technically still eligible for another season, but he did play well last year, including in Summer League. The Pacers do need a point guard right now. I don't know what type of point guard they want. Quinton Jackson's more combo-y, but how he looks in Summer League, we'll be telling you. If he looks awesome, and I think particularly the thing I'll be watching with him is as a distributor, a passer, because for all the great things he did as a starter last year for the Pacers, he wasn't this high-level assist guy, and he didn't turn it over very much either, though. I'm not saying he can't pass or wasn't asked to pass or anything. Like 5 assists per 36 is fine. I'll be very curious if his creation for others looks any more evolved or any more of a step forward, because if he looks awesome and he starts with a good first impression, which was his biggest miss last year, that could be great for him, right? He could be coming out of Summer League going, man, he's got a chance to make the team. And I think, they have to give him that chance. He played well again. Otherwise, for him, it's kind of boiled down to the rest of the two-way clan, right? There is him. Enrique Freeman got a qualifying offer. He's a restricted free agent. Ray J. Dennis signed a 2-year two-way last year, and when he signed in January, so he's on a two-way contract right this second. There's no money guaranteed with that. They could just cut him if they don't want him. And then Talon Peter was drafted 54th. Every 54th pick since the installment of two-way contracts into the NBA has been on a two-way in their first year. Like that should be the expectation for Peter. They drafted him because they like him. So I would assume he's the leader in the clubhouse odds-wise just because of that. But who of that group can do the best? Like if Peter's awesome, do they just give him a standard deal? What's this going to look like, right? And so here's the thing. Like it's so easy to say, well, they need a point guard, they need a center, keep one of Freeman, keep one of the guards. Yeah, that's right now. Like I think it's too early in free agency to say what they actually should want positionally from their two ways right this second. Once their roster is done, I think it'll be a little more clear that, oh man, like they desperately still need point guard depth. They should keep two guys on two ways or something like that. So it's hard to say if anyone has an edge in that way, but I think it'll just come down to like who plays the best, right? Freeman played well in Summer League last year to me, earned the two-way that he got. I thought Q played better than most people did. And Newton was the highest draft pick. Bada bing, bada boom, there they go. You wonder how that will look this year. If there's actually a battle for those four guys for 3 spots, if the standard roster spot is a carrot to dangle in front of them, that one of them could actually get it if they play really well. How's that going to look? Because for Ray J. Dennis, his passing's there. He is a guy that makes his teammates better. Like, can he show some efficiency pop? How does his defense look out there? Freeman is very clearly this Energizer Bunny type, good around the rim player. Like, does he add anything in terms of shot creation or jump shooting or defense? I think would be a big step for him as well, right? Talon Peter, we haven't seen it all. We'll talk about him in the second segment here, but all those guys, the returnees from last year, have something to prove, and in many cases, the non-Furphy cases, have potentially a spot open for them on the team if they play well or prove that they can add value. And so that's why all the NBA guys from the Pacers last year are so interesting to me. And Talon Peter also sneaks into that two-way discussion. He should get something. They drafted him because they see something in him. Draft picks usually get a deal of some kind. What should it be? What did we hear from him at practice on Friday? And so much more coming here on Locked On Pacers. Before we talk about any of that, let's talk about game time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible, and it makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to the first pitch, and they've got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. They're the official ticket partner of Locked On MLB, and they make it easy to browse the app for exciting MLB games, exclusive zone deals, 10% off of those. FIBA Club World Cup is about to end, but they had great deals for that too. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Again, create an account and even the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day, or second listen. Locked On Women's Basketball for the weekly Fever Fridays. Yesterday, talking about the Fever's development on defense. They're winning games. Tyrese Haliburton is there as they beat the Aces, tweeting about buying an Aaron McDonald jersey or any NBA team that made an interesting transaction to you. I'm going to be tuning into Locked On Hornets pretty soon because why did a team with LaMelo Ball sign Trey Mann, trade for Colin Sexton, and sign Spencer Dinwiddie? What's going on in Charlotte? Locked On Hornets will let me know. Haliburton was there at Summer League practice today in a boot. Very cool to see. He's got his little scooter thing going on. So Isaac Jacob is the head coach of this team. He was with the Lakers before, and then he was with the Kings with Haliburton. They are very close. I asked Isaac Jacob about Haliburton's reaction to him being named the Summer League coach. Obviously, he was very excited, and it's something he's wanted to do before, right? And so it'll be very new Summer League coach after it was General Parker the last 2 years. It'll be interesting to see how he does, how players respond to him, things like that. But it's always a good way to develop your development coaches, your young assistants, by giving them these kind of chances on this stage. So congrats to Isaac Jacob. Good dude. A+ dude by all accounts. I don't know him particularly well myself, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. And it was cool to see Haliburton around, right? For these guys who haven't been around, like the first segment guys we just talked about, they obviously were Tyrese Haliburton's teammate last year, but all these new guys popping in for Summer League and they see the All-NBA dude on their team is sitting there watching. It's got to be a pretty good experience for them to see that. And it's a good first impression of the organization. So the other guys that matter, obviously everybody matters to some extent, but the other guys that will be with a watchful eye going their way are the rookies, right? The rooks, how do they look? The thing about Cam Jones is we don't get to talk to him yet. He's not technically a Pacer, right? Today, when this comes out, it'll be July 5th. That trade cannot be legally executed until July 6th. So Cam Jones is technically, this is so silly. It's not silly. It needs to happen for the way the NBA's order of operations works, but he's technically on the Spurs. So we can't talk to him. I didn't even see him on Friday myself. Perhaps on Sunday we can catch up with him. So we'll talk about Taylor Peter here first. We did get to talk to him. He was a Pacers draft pick on Friday. Really cool guy. It was cool to hear him talk about where he watched the draft at his grandma's house, and they all jumped in the pool when he got picked. Just a really cool story. This guy that coming out of high school thought track might be his sport in the future, and then mid-flight for a college visit, his track season gets canceled because of COVID, so he goes to Tennessee Tech for basketball, and now his career's here. It's just been a really interesting journey for him. In fact, early next week, there'll be a very special, let's say, Taylor Peter related episode of on this very podcast feed that I'm really looking forward to. That'll be cool. So with him and Cam Jones, and I'll say this again when we get to Cam, what translates will be telling, right? Can they show some of the stuff that they showed at the college level immediately in Summer League? Do they come in and it's very clear that, Taylor Peter can make that kind of three, or, that athleticism pops in this way, right? What does he look like with new teammates? Because something interesting about Liberty is they're very much a concepts team, not a play calling team. And that's kind of what the Pacers are, but Summer League's a little different, right? How does he kind of fit in and stand out with the skills that he clearly has, but also the skills that he really needs to add? And he talked about some of that stuff that he needs to add. And he's talked about it with the coaching staff that, he's probably got to add some ball handling if he's going to be an NBA guard. And the thing about the Pacers Summer League team is between Jackson and Dennis and a guy we'll talk about later, and Buddy Boeheim, and plenty of others. They have lots of guys who can handle the ball or should be handling it. So it's not like reps will be easy to come by at first, but if you've watched Summer League before, the best guys don't play every game as it keeps going and going, especially if Furphy starts good. By the end, there could be chances to be like, hey, Taylor Peter, play point guard for a little bit, dribble it across the timeline. So I'll be looking forward to seeing what is next for him from a skill development perspective, but also what pops, of the skills that got him drafted, the bounce, the shooting. Can those things be instant on-court impact things for him? And if they do, great. Put him on a 2A. No-brainer. Don't even think about it. Cam Jones is the same way, right? The way he played in college was such a hoot. Especially that last year at Marquette. He dribbles across half court. Here comes two ball screens. Cam Jones, get open, make a play. He could score. He could pass better once Kolek was gone. What's he going to look like in this setting, right? Are they going to give him the keys that often, right? Between, again, Jackson and Dennis and him, that's a lot of ball handling. What role does he get? How much is he on the ball? How much is he off? And what do they want him to be in the pros? Do they want him to be a one? Do they want him to be initiating? Or do they want him to have some of that off-ball pop that he showed as a junior when his efficiency was better, but his passing numbers were worse. That will be fascinating. And what can he show in both settings? Did he learn how to blend them much at Marquette? Where is he more comfortable? And then the other part is what translates. Same as it was for Taylor Peter. What does and doesn't translate is this very natural craft as a finisher and scorer. Is that there right away? For Cam Jones, is there other stuff he's going to need to show? And for both of these guys, what's your defense going to look like? It's kind of harder for me to get a feel for defense at the college level. I thought that Cam Jones was less attentive of an off-ball player, but was a better on-ball defender, right? How does that kind of stuff for both those guys translate into the summer league setting? And you just never know with defense. Like Jarris last year was stealing everything, but had some inattentive moments. You just want to see what everybody's total package is. And that's why I like going to summer league. I'll probably be at the first 2, maybe 3 games, because seeing them in person is so much easier to kind of identify their focus level, what they're doing in timeouts, all that kind of stuff as it applies to that sort of defensive stuff. So of the important, I keep saying, and that makes it seem like the rest of the players aren't important. They are, but of the guys with the most obvious tangible path to impact for the Pacers in the short and long term, that's my overview of what summer league will be like. You could get much more nitty gritty on all these guys if you want, and maybe I will before the games actually start. There are some other guys to at least like eyeball emoji, watch this guy. One is Buddy Boeheim, who played 2 seasons for the Pistons, and I think last year was with the OKC Blue in the G League. 2 years of pro experience is obviously something. He's on paper a good shooter. In the NBA, he hasn't shot it very well. I say that because, like last year, Dakota Mathias, who similarly had 2 years of NBA experience and on paper, but not quite in practice in the NBA, was a good shooter, did shoot it well, right, for the Pacers in Summer League last year, and was like their 6th/7th player, kind of their extra starter, because guys who know how to play and can shoot and provide spacing make it easier on everybody else. And in a Summer League setting where everything's kind of crazy and chaotic, and it's like, oh, these are half new teammates and a new coach and all that, like there's just a lot of clunky play. And so having guys who know what they're doing and are out of the way and very helpful can be important. So I bet Buddy Boeheim's a guy who is rotation bound pretty early in this process. We'll see what he actually looks like. Obviously the son of Syracuse legendary coach Jim Boeheim. So can he show anything? Will he be Mathias-esque? Does he play well enough to like, did the boom want him? Anything like that? Philip Wheeler's on this team. He's a bigger forward who played for the Sixers for 5 games last year. I don't know much about him, but anybody who played in the NBA literally last season, and then he went actually for a stint in Puerto Rico to play too. What can they show? Can they be of note? Because if you're 23 and you have NBA experience, yeah, give him a look, see how that goes. But I know very little about him. As for the boom guys who are back, there's only 2. Kisei Tominaga returns. He didn't play much in the G League last year for the then Mad Ants. He was lower in the guard rotation, but has that crazy good shooting numbers from Nebraska, right? Does a year of offseason time at the pro level get him going a little bit more? How does he perform when he's given chances? He'll be interesting, but I think the more interesting boom player to me is Josiah Jordan-James. I don't know if people remember him from last year. He had a pre-draft workout for the Pacers, and it was noteworthy because Aaron Nesmith was there. Aaron Nesmith actually delayed his flight out of Indy after the season to watch it because they were really good friends growing up. They played together a lot in the high school and earlier levels. And he played summer league for the Pacers last year. It was like just kind of a guy. He was okay. And then he goes to the Mad Ants and he starts the season. It's like, this guy's okay, I guess. By the end of the year, I mean, he was playing every game and his stats weren't like crazy. But I think Josiah Jordan-James was maybe the Mad Ants' most improved player from start to finish of the season. Last year, he got a lot better. His shot got more crisp. He got way more comfortable on both ends of the floor. Now being back for round 2, right, does that translate to summer league play? Does he actually look interesting and good? Because he's a wing who's kind of interesting at a lot of things. He is 25, but if he can be good again and get a second chance to pop in that boom program, you never know. Like the Pacers have promoted a Mad Ant player like basically every year at some point. So I'll be interested in him. How much does his ascension continue? Because he by the end of the year was a solid and well-earned rotation guy for the boom every single game. All the rest of the guys on the team, I've done like research on who they are, but I don't know a ton about their game and what they will be providing to this team. And obviously then when their roster gets updated once the Cam Jones trade comes through, more clarity there. But lots of guards, lots of ball handling, and I'm looking forward to seeing it all. Tomorrow we'll talk about, who knows, I keep waiting to delay these to record during the day to see if any moves happen. Pacers still haven't signed anybody, so if they do, that's obviously topic number 1. If not, there's plenty of things to talk about. It's a big offseason for the Pacers. And some moves might become official on Sunday. So then there's obviously lots of stuff to talk about. Thank you guys so much for listening today. You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Tony Arice. This podcast is at Locked On Pacers on Twitter and Instagram. We will see you tomorrow.